Hello, my name is Bruce Doran. I'm one of the staff scientists that works at Science North. In fact, I work on the third floor in a wetlands lab. And what I want to do today is really show you the 4 different types of wetlands that we have in Ontario. In Ontario, we have 4 major types of wetlands. We have marshes, swamps, fens, and bogs. And what we're going to do right now is show you the different types of wetlands that we actually have, give you an actual video of what they actually look like, give you also a distinguishing feature of each one. And I want to finish off by really giving you an idea why wetlands are important. So we are actually one of the wetlands that is commonly found in Ontario, a classic wetland that most people will recognize, which is actually a marsh wetland. And marsh wetlands are areas where we tend to find a certain type of plant growing in it, usually cattails or grasses. And usually marshes have open water areas where you'll find other aquatic plants such as water lilies or pondweeds. And also in this type of wetland, we'll find certain types of animals that are classically found here, such as red-winged blackbirds, geese, ducks, the types of birds that generally people consider or are related or kind of associated with those type of wetlands. So marsh wetlands are exactly what we see behind me. It's an area where there's usually lots of cattails and grasses, and there's usually open water areas. Another type of wetland that we find in Ontario are fens. And we actually have a fen right here on either side of me of this boardwalk. Our fens are usually composed of grasses and a certain type of grass that we call sedges. And generally fens tend to get water from underground springs or maybe from a stream or something like that. And what tends to happen is that these sedges and grasses grow as mats on top of the water and they just float there. And in fact, it's kind of deceiving, and people might think, oh, I can walk on a fen, and sometimes it can actually support the body weight of a person. It's kind of walking like on a waterbed, but a lot of times it's not the case, and that's why I'm actually on a boardwalk right now, because if I were to step on there, I would actually get water over my head. So this is one type of wetland that we actually have here in Ontario. It's called a fen. Another type of wetland that we have here in Ontario are swamps. I'm actually standing right now on a beaver dam, and behind this beaver dam is actually a swamp. And swamps are usually flooded areas that flood temporarily, that will dry out during the summertime. And most of the plants that we usually found there are bushy type plants or treed plants, such as these trees right here that are actually black ash. We also find certain types of plants. We actually see the marigold right behind me, and that is conducive for swamps. So swamps are wet areas that will periodically dry out during the summertime and usually have trees within it. Now swamps are quite important for certain animals such as wood ducks, because they will actually use swamps in order to nest, and then they will transfer from these swamps to more marshy areas where they will actually raise their young. Another type of wetland that we find in Ontario is one that we see right here. Those are bogs. Bogs are found more in northern regions of our province, and bogs are characterized by the fact there is sphagnum moss that grows on the surface of the water, and you will find spruce or tamarack on there. Bogs are filled up with water that comes from spring rains or snowmelt. They get no other source of water. And in fact, what happens, because there's no water going in and no water going out, all the plant matter that starts to decompose will decompose anaerobically without oxygen. That actually creates a very acidic environment. In fact, the water in there is quite acidic that many plants can't actually grow in there. Only one specialized for this type of habitat. So what's kind of neat is in this type of habitat we will find plants that actually have adapted to eat animals, little animals like insects, in order to get their nutrients, because they can't get them from this environment. So bogs are quite special, and in fact one of the largest ecosystems that we have in Ontario are actually the northern bogs in the James Bay region. A lot of people ask me what are the importance of wetlands for our world and also for humans. In fact, wetlands are quite important. A lot of people think of wetlands are just things that are stinky and have full of bugs, but in fact wetlands play very important ecological roles. They're habitats for many plants and animals. They're pit stops for migratory birds. They are reproductive sites for many animals such as ducks and even pike. Pike love to spawn in there. They're a food source for many different species of animals, and in fact they're very important for humans because they act like sponges. They actually take excess water and they prevent flooding events. They're also very good for us because they're great sites for people for recreational purposes, either whether it be for hunting, fishing, or just for enjoying nature. So I hope you learned a lot about wetlands, and that next time you go out, that you appreciate these incredible habitats.